Okay, so up here at the bow, where the anchor locker entry is, I think this is aftermarket, just looking at the sketchy fiberglass delamination here. But there's been a lot of water gathering here due to this weather stripping that is just pure foam. I'm not sure if that's marine grade or not, but it doesn't really look like it's not holding up very well. But it's gathering a lot of water, which would be okay if there was a drainage hole going out outside of the boat. But I don't know if it was the previous owner. One of the previous owners drilled a hole right here straight into the crash bulkhead. So this is gathering up a bunch of rainwater and then leaking down into the crash bulkhead and then creating a bunch of condensation in the forward berth. So what I'm gonna do, because I want to think about this a little bit more, I think what needs to happen is I need to drill a hole towards the outside and make a legitimate drainage hole rather than making it drain fresh water straight into the boat. I don't understand what's going on there. So I'm going to seal this up with some duct tape for right now. Again, super temporary. I'll fix it when I actually have time and resources to, but I want to get this dried up a little bit so I can start making the cabin a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, so I'm just gonna tape the seams here. It's not gonna be 100% waterproof, but it'll help. And I'll just be able to come back and wipe out some of the condensation or the excess water there, so it doesn't drip down into the crash bulkhead and making the interior wet. I'll figure that out later. Okay, it's all taped up. Should last a little bit until I can rebed it, and I really hope it's not the deck fittings or these fittings that are leaking. I'm pretty sure they are, but that'll do for now. Been using this no residue tape. Comes highly recommended on the World Wide Web. All right, it's been raining for a few days. Seal's holding up pretty good. I don't think you'll be able to see, but a little bit of water there, but that's okay. All right, so good news here though. That water in the bilge right over there, that's about the same as when I left it a few days ago before it started raining. So that means that the patch job I had up front in the anchor locker is working out pretty well, solving a lot of the water intrusion issues. But there's still a lot of condensation going on in here, so definitely far from a dried in boat, but we're getting there. Today I'm gonna drill some holes in the lockers to get some ventilation going in there because it's long overdue. So, yep. All right, so bought these from Amazon. So the opening was 2 inches. Well, I just used a 2-inch hole saw and that's not working out. So I'm glad I did this in an inconspicuous spot first. Yeah, that kind of sucks, but whatever. All right, so the 2 1/8 inch hole saw works better, but there's just a little bit of play, which has been fine. But I just started in another non-conspicuous area drilling through the bulkheads, and this is right where the porta potty is going to be. But kind of reassuring here how thick these bulkheads are, and they're pretty solid. So it's like 3/4 inch tongue and groove attached to 3/4 inch ply. I don't know if it's marine grade, but it looks pretty nice. And another 3/4 inch of the tongue and groove, so they're pretty solid. One thing that I'm thinking about right now is how deep this goes in here. So that's leaving a lot of bare wood here. So I don't think I'm gonna bust out the epoxy, but I have to have a think here about what I'm gonna do to seal up that wood. For these, I was planning on using this Quick Seal Plus with Mold Guard. It's what it's what a lot of people online have been saying is an okay substitute for 4200 in a pinch and in a non-structural, non-critical area. So that's what I was planning on using for this. So we'll see if I can just smooth some schmoo right up on inside of these holes here, and if those will work, or if I'm gonna have to get fancy with some stuff. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna adhere these on, and there's still a lot of space here for me to add some sealant back there if I need to. So we're just gonna keep it on here, doing these temporary ventilation holes, or temporary adhering and then sealing later. Yeah, this stuff was $6 a tube, and the similar sized 3M 4200 was $23 a tube. And the name of this channel is Broke Boy Boat Building, and we're gonna keep it that way. So yeah, it'll be fine. Totally be fine. Totally be fine. So looks a little shitty here. Probably gonna start doing paint when it's in more conspicuous spots, but yeah, she'll do. She'll do. All right, finished up the starboard side bench holes here. Towards the end, it was getting pretty gross. You can see that's some pretty rotted wood. This is the plywood here. Pretty wet to the touch. On the inside here, it's pretty moist. I'm hoping that with the fix from the chain locker issue, it'll start drying out, especially since we're starting to get some sun here in Seattle. So yeah, I'm gonna put the vents on here and move on to the dinette lockers, or lazarettes. I don't know what they're called, but yep. All right, it's your boy here. All right, our temporary mooring. Thought I'd give a update about what needs to be done to get this back into more comfortable sailing condition. Starting from the bow, there's an anchor locker here, and I think this was done aftermarket because of the quality of the fiberglass work is pretty shoddy underneath here. But it looks like one of the previous owners wanted to put a initial wet locker for the chain and rod to drain out of, but they drilled the hole straight down into the other anchor locker, so it totally defeated the purpose. I'm not sure if it was one single owner who did this, or if it was the second owner after the fact drilled the hole in because it was leaking. Anyway, instead of the water going all the way down into the cabin and leaking and causing more condensation inside, I'm going to keep that initial locker because I like the idea of being able to wash it down. But I'm gonna drill a through hole, probably right all the way up in the bow here, and have a drain in that initial locker and plug up the hole there. So I'll be able to do that. But right now I have it temporarily sealed off, and that's doing pretty well here, keeping it dry, because it was causing a lot of mold and mildew issues inside, which we'll get to. There's a lot of tape here on the foredeck and throughout the boat, but the previous owner did the landlord special where he just caulked the old screw hole and just painted over it, which was probably okay temporarily, and it worked for a little bit, but it's definitely not a permanent thing. Even if the caulking is advertised as paintable, it's only going to last a few years before it fails. So I'm going to have to strip it down, sand it down, and bust out the angle grinder and everything and re-epoxy it and re-fiberglass it, maybe. But so that's only where they removed, just flat out removed some hardware or completely moved it, because if they rebedded it, the previous owner, they did a pretty good job. There's no leaks under this, I can't remember the name of it, but underneath any of the stanchions that they redid a few years ago. Those are all fine. It's just where they moved the hardware is where I'm running into problems. So, and even adding. So previous owner added this and it wasn't bedded properly, and now it's one of the major leaks that I have to deal with because it's building up a lot of water right here, and the rope's holding a lot of water, and it's just dripping straight down underneath into the into the salon area. But so I have these taped up right now, and I think you'll be able to see it right here. Yeah, they just drilled and they just filled up the screw hole with caulk and then painted over it. And again, temporary fix. It's not permanent. Probably lasted a couple of years, but now it's starting to wear. And I mean, this paint is pretty old, so that's probably why it's starting to leak a lot more. I thought that this port light, dead light, was leaking, but I honestly think that it's these. So this is what I'm talking about here. They just it's like squishy. It's just some caulk, silicone caulk that they painted over. So that's causing a leak down underneath the port lights here, the dead lights here. So just gonna tape that up for now. They're leaking down because there's a couple water drips down there, and that's right where my VHF is. So I'm gonna take care of that pretty soon. All of the other, so it really seems like all of the port lights are completely sound, which is good, so I don't have to touch those. Pretty sweet, pretty good condition. Winches here, all of the cleats are all in good condition. Tiller handle's new. The tiller's in good condition. 2014 8-horse Yamaha. Was just serviced a couple years ago. Probably overdue for another servicing, but I might be able to do that myself. I mean, these things are indestructible. Running rigging or the standing rigging was replaced when the previous owner re-stepped the mast, which was a couple years ago. So that's all in good condition. All the block and tackle, all the running rigging is in pretty good shape. We'll see about replacing that eventually. But it's saleable now, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Got a grill. All the lifelines are in good condition. I'm probably going to put some netting in on this first around the cockpit area so I can bring my dog aboard. Into the cockpit, cushions are good. The cockpit lockers, they're leaking. And I need to replace the weather stripping and the hinges, which won't be too bad. What a couple owners ago, he wanted to put in this box here. His whole plan was to put all of the running rigging like mounted right here, so he could trim the sails from inside the cabin, which, I mean, it makes sense in a 35-foot boat, but not a 25-foot boat. I mean, this isn't a blue water sail. I mean, it's not a blue water sailboat, quote unquote. But anyway, the way he did this, I mean, he did it terribly because all of the wood inside is completely rotted through. So this is just basically bare fiberglass underneath this piece of wood here that the previous owner had to put in is completely, I mean, it's just bouncy. So I'm gonna have to remove that, not only because it's rotted, but because it like just removes so much seating space. I mean, this right now, I've gone sailing about 4 or 5 times now, and it's with 4 people here, it's uncomfortable. I mean, it feels like you have to sit all the way like this because the tiller comes out to about here. So it's just uncomfortable, and this thing just needs to go. I mean, it just needs to go. I think we'll just dive right into down in the cabin. Biggest issue is just condensation and mold and mildew, and there's some rot going on because there was absolutely no ventilation, no passive ventilation from the bilge up. So there was a lot of leaks coming in from the anchor locker, and then like the failing fixes from the old screw holes. I haven't even touched on the big bulkhead thing over there, which I'll have a whole separate video about. But yeah, so what I'm doing right now is putting these holes or these vents here, so I'm having some passive ventilation going from the bilge up, so it's not just rotting underneath the in the lockers here. So like, this is just, I mean, it's dry now because all I did was put in these vents and have a fan going, which I'll turn on, and it's just dried out. So yeah, so I've drilled some vents in here. Yeah, so up there, all of the water was just draining straight down underneath here, and then it was going all the way down into the bilge and just coating all of this with water, and then the moisture in the air was just, you know, I don't need to explain condensation to you, but super moist down in here, so that it smells like mildew. It's just all around pretty uncomfortable. So what I need to do is fix the anchor locker, get some passive ventilation going in here, and I'm probably going to do a bilge blower and just suck a lot of the water out, because it might take for me a little bit to get all of the leaks fixed. Which, all right, I'll point out some of the big leaks. You see all of these marks next to where they rebedded the handrail above the cabin. So this 4200 to 5200 or whatever is doing fine up here, but that's because it's on the inside and it's not exposed to UV, water, and wind and hail and snow sometimes. So it's doing okay on the inside, but it's leaking pretty bad, and it's getting down and underneath the liner and underneath. So there's probably some soft rotten wood in there. I don't even know how they constructed these, but it's leaking down, and it's leaking onto my VHF, which it's working okay right now, but probably gonna move that first and foremost. But right now I just want to fix all the leaks. So it's leaking all along here. I've taped up most of what I could. It's the I don't know what they're called, but the 4 pulley things that are attached to the cabin, they're leaking pretty bad. This is what's was pretty so this is pretty rusted right here, but that's leaking. There's a leak over by here, underneath here, which is where the shore power is. There was some tape over there, and I don't know what used to be there, but I tipped it up and it's not leaking anymore, so that's good. This box is leaky, like I said before. This box thing leaking pretty bad underneath. I actually put some 4200 underneath it, so that's helping out there. Like I discussed before, that big anchor locker is leaking, or was leaking pretty bad, and leaking all the way down underneath. So, and that was huge. Like, that was a lot of water coming down underneath there, because once I poured that out, the previous owner said that she had to come by every other day and pump out the bilge. Now I don't have to, so that just goes to show how much water was getting in. There's a leak behind here that I have no idea where it's coming from, which is worrisome, because it's just leaking down here and coming along here and going into the battery compartment. So this ventilation I have going on now has been helping out a lot, but there's a lot of damage that's already been done. Underneath here, it's just pretty rotted. So That's there. Where else? There's, oh yeah, the big one behind me. This is the port side chain plate for the what are they called? The stays. One of the mainstay, the shroud. I don't know. No, I don't know. But it's been yanking this up. So because there's been some intrusion going on, and this whole panel right here is completely rotted. So there's a lot of water coming down in here and getting into here. So this piece of wood is pretty rotted, but ever since I put in the ventilation holes, it's been helped out a lot. And I taped it up pretty good. So that's been pretty good. So a lot of leaks going on. So biggest thing I have to do is fix the leaks and fix the leaks. That's it. Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh boy. What did I do? What did I do? Nothing. Oh. Nothing. That was just a leftover cable tie. Oh man, I am the luckiest son of a bitch. Holy shit. That could have been so bad. I guess not. It would have been terrible, but... So, like I said in my previous video, this boat can sail today. I mean, I've taken it out 4 or 5 times, and it's doing fine. The tape needs to be replaced more permanently, so where I've put tape, I can put some epoxy on it and paint over it, and it'll be fine. So that's what I'm going to do. And after I'm done with that, we can start painting the ceiling here, the ceiling liner, which has been painted this weird, kind of gross beige color, which I'm sure was a good idea before, but I kind of hate it. And then I need to paint this bare plywood here, which is really nice plywood. It's just really moldy on the underside because just a lot of condensation under there, and it was unprotected, bare plywood. So replace the sole, replace the locker, or I don't even know, settee, whatever, this plywood here, because it's pretty rotted and gross, and half of it is, untreated, so it's just getting moldy. Gonna build some shelving underneath the lockers here, because it's just it just swoops down and is not, you can't store stuff under there, because it's also getting really wet because of all the condensation, because there's no ventilation. So yeah, we'll do some electricity for new cabin lighting, because these are functional, but they don't emit a lot of light. And you can get these from Catalina direct from the manufacturer, and I don't think they've updated their wattage, or their lumens or capabilities since, I don't know, early 2000s, and lighting has come a long way since then, and got a pretty new battery, and the engine is what's charging the battery. So I'm gonna get some solar, get a bilge blower underneath so we can keep the air circulating hooked up to the solar. Redoing the deck paint and non-skid, but starts with fixing leaks.